My name is, let me put this here. My name is Julie Kernan, and I teach in the Theater and Speech Communication Department here at Salem State University. I mostly teach the required public speaking course. Inside of my course, I collect papers electronically through Canvas. I use rubrics, and I also grade presentations, live presentations in the classroom, using rubrics and Canvas and all these sorts of things. So I have a lot of experience using the gradebook. I know when things may possibly go wrong and how you can make it really easy for you, as well as how rubrics can help you if you do have trouble typing. Rubrics can really be your friend, because you can, once you set a rubric up, you don't have to type anything, you just click, 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 and the student gets a grade automatically. So these are sorts of things that I think will help you both. And also, because I do collect student files online, I collect papers from students, and I use the Canvas Speedgrader functionality in order to write comments directly on the student papers, submit comments, and have that go directly to the gradebook. So I think we should be able to cover both of what you guys are looking for pretty easily. What this particular course was originally intended to be, which there's no problem diverting from it at all, but just so that you know, I use rubrics to grade asynchronously in the classroom. So, for example, Gail was doing like a little introduction to you guys, and she was writing on the board. While she was doing that, I was literally sitting over there clicking on a rubric that I had already made, said save, and Gail was graded for her presentation. It's done. I never have to go back again and look at that. Now I can if I'd like to. She did. She only got a couple points off. No, she did quite well. And so through this process, I'll show you that rubric, and we can kind of backtrack and talk about rubrics and talk about the gradebook and grading, etc. So just out of curiosity, do either of you currently use rubrics?
Yeah, we have embedded rubric for business school.
Inside of Canvas?
Right.
Use
so
rubrics inside of Canvas.
There are like a bunch of rubrics available, so we can only choose and click in order to adapt it.
Okay. So they have, the business school, Gail has implemented this on a department-wide or school-wide? Oh, excellent. That's amazing. So you don't even have to build the rubric.
Yeah, I'm using it.
That's awesome.
I'm not even sure what we are talking about here, because I haven't seen...
Grading rubric for, they are linked to objective learning goals of BSB for ASCSB.
and then they are on the web.
Yeah. I mean, you're missing all these meetings and, conferences.
Because I'm beyond that. I've been here forever.
So this is just a paper printout of a rubric that I've developed for one of my classes in Canvas, just so you can sort of see. And I can bring it up here to show you. But it's basically, you create everything. So you can create the categories that you want to grade the students by, and then how well they do. It can be as simple as excellent, good, bad, or you can put more words in there. You assign points to each category and to each individual thing, and it comes to the points total. And so once this is created, which is a really quite simple format to do, or it's possible it's completely created for you, what she's saying here is that this is already created by the School of Business, something similar to this.
Not for our classes, though.
I
mean, the points, etc.
the point is
You can adjust them, right?
I have actually, when you
actually
when
the
you
point
showed
has
me.
been all set up already, but you can add some more items on top of this.
Okay.
Let's get right in.
In my case, I already have these. It's not just on the computer. I do it manually.
Yes, yes. Well, this started for me, before this looked into the Canvas format, it was a paper-based format for me. It didn't look quite like this. It was a little line with a description, and I would check off or do check plus, etc.
Exactly.
So you can translate that paper-based product that you normally use into something that you can use on Canvas. And once you translate it once for an assignment, or maybe you use one particular rubric for multiple assignments, once you do it once, you can use it as many times as you want. And you can also build upon it. You can take basically what you have for a basic assignment and, like you were saying, add to it. If you want to add a couple more criteria, you can change it and alternate it and still keep the original one being used as well. So let's go ahead and log into Canvas, or at least I'll log into Canvas up here so you can sort of see what this looks like. And Gail has already also given, she's printed out a couple of the help guides that just sort of talk about rubrics. So you can reference this on your own later. Yes?
And I'm already logged into Canvas.
Okay. I will log in here. I was logged in on my iPad, but I think it'd be easier just to use this. Let me just quickly log in and I'll show you what it looks like to grade using a rubric as a faculty member, and then I'll show you what it looks like as a student, right? So you can see the full picture, and then we'll delve into actually letting you guys try to attempt a rubric, or possibly letting you see the rubrics that are available to you inside of the School of Business, since you're both in the School of Business, right?
Thank you.
I have to say that I 100% think that you should use the gradebook inside of Canvas. This will save you so much time and energy in the long run, and it's really not too difficult to set up. And the reason why I'm talking so much about rubrics, you don't have to decide to use them if you want to use the gradebook, right? The gradebook's just going to simplify your life. It's going to make it easier and more helpful for your students to get immediate sort of understanding where their grades are and everything. At the end of the semester, you're not going to have to deal with, oh my gosh, what is the grade? How do I compute these things? Although in the School of Business, you probably don't have too much trouble with Excel spreadsheets and figuring out all the percentages, but for a liberal arts teacher, that was like the bane of my existence. So I love that I can set it up here and sort of show the students easily, and I can do it easily as well. The rubrics do make it easy, one, because once you set them up once, then it's always the same, and two, if you don't enjoy typing like you've shared, the students get individualized feedback without you having to write it every single time, right? I've noticed that. So simply, if you just want to see what my grade book looks like, because you may or may not have seen this, I have all of my assignments listed. I only have one student in here because it's a test environment, right? But all the assignments are listed, and when you get to the end, I have the assignments categorized by a category system. When you get to the end, you have a grade, right? So it looks, just so you can see, kind of similar to an Excel spreadsheet, right? And this all gets made automatically for you when you enter the assignments inside of Canvas. So going back to the course and getting into a specific assignment, I'll show you introduction speech. So I have the assignment listed for the students so they can see all of the criteria for the assignment. And as you'll look down here, this is the instructor view. So this is kind of what it would look like for you. Underneath, I do have a rubric associated with it. This is the rubric that I had just showed to you there. I'll show you how to make it and attach it later, but just so you can see, you see when you come in here that you have attached a rubric. And if you wanted to edit it in any way, you could click here and change it, right? But let's just cancel that for now, and I'll show you what it would be like to use the Speedgrader function inside of Canvas, which is great. It makes it really quick. It brings up a new tab. We've still back here, we've got our regular Canvas, right? Come over here, you get this new tab, and this is the Speedgrader environment, right? No matter what assignment you're in, no matter what course you're in, if you're using the Speedgrader function, it's going to look somewhat similar to this, right? And so if you had had a student paper, it would show in this large gray box, and I'll show you that in just a minute. This does not have an online submission associated with it because it's a presentation done in the class. So you could put an assignment in Canvas that actually doesn't have any electronic submission component to it, right? You just want to grade them for something, whether it be participation in class or a myriad of different things, right? For mine, it's a presentation. And I have a rubric. Now, I graded this just now with Gail while she was doing her presentation, but if I hadn't graded it, it wouldn't be there, and I would click on View Rubric, and you scroll down. As you notice, I'm using my mouse. You just click what grade you want to give the students. Did they do poorly? And once you're used to using this, you know what all of the boxes mean, right? It's like you're used to using your own rubric. You check plus very quickly and easily. And then you hit Save down at the bottom. You have an alternative option. You notice that it populated the grade automatically at the top. So, yes. Uh-huh.
Once I graded one of the student paper based upon this Speedgrader, and initially I gave them like 30 out of 50. And then later when I revisited student work, seems like they deserve more points. So I decided to give them
more points
instead of 30. So I updated the score to 33, and then it seems like the students are getting two different scores from their ends.
They shouldn't. I haven't had that because I have updated and changed grades. I have worked on student submitted papers like you're talking about especially. I have had students resubmit papers and I've regraded them because I allow that option. Or I also use the mute function, which I hadn't told you yet. So if you look right here, as soon as I graded this, Gail could have looked into her account and saw, oh, great, I got a 45, great. But say you don't want the students to all get their grade until you're done grading every single student, right? This little functionality.
Once you're done, you are going to save it, right?
Yes,
As soon
it's,
as I save it, it seems like the students are getting that result from their end.
yes,
And then later, when
they get that. So that's,
updating the score
if
and
you-
resave, it seems like they are getting the second score as well.
yes.
So,
If you haven't used the mute assignment function, then the students, as soon as you click save at the bottom, that's going to populate out to the student. It assumes that you've graded it, the student should get the grade.
so
So the first grade that you graded, I mean, because we're talking about online things, it literally is as soon as it happens, it's done. As soon as it happens, it's done. The students can find out the information. If you think you might want to review and go back and change something, what I do is this mute assignment functionality. Because imagine, I have students doing presentations in class. I'm grading them asynchronously. I'm going through, we're doing 15 presentations in one class period. That's high stress for a faculty member to keep up with the rubrics and everything. I want to make sure that at the end of the class, when I go home, it's not a lot of work, but personally I like to make sure that everything went the way I wanted it to, and then I unmute the assignment and all of the students get the grades at the same time. So this could be what you're talking about, and I'll share a little bit more. But so I clicked it right here. I'm going to click it again just so you can see. When you click on mute assignment, you get this little box. And it just basically says that the students are not going to get any information about this being graded until you unmute this assignment.
But do you mute it before you grade it or after you grade it?
Before you grade the student.
Before you-
If you don't want them to see it, ideally you click this mute assignment button when you start your grading process, and you don't unclick it until you're finished grading completely.
And do you have to do it for each student? Or
No.
you can do it for all?
Just for the assignment.
for the-
Yep. So
for
it,
the
it
assignment, all covering all students.
Yes, exactly. So when you entered into the Speedgrader environment, where we came in here for the first time today, and say it was the first day that you were going to do grading, but let's be realistic. If you have to look at, 75 student papers that are 10 pages each, you're not going to do that in one setting. And I just don't want students, half the students to get their grade, while half the other students don't get their grade. Or maybe you want to review, or you want to wait until you have an in-class session where you chat with them about it, and then you release the grades. So that's how the mute button works. You click it once, it covers the entire assignment. You start grading and saving each individual student as you go along. And then you can stop for a while, do 5 students, stop. Next day, do 5 students, stop. Go back, revisit a student, come back, etc. When you feel that you're finished for what you're finished now, you unmute assignment, and then that will be pushed out to all of the students, and they will see their grades. Now, if you decide, a student comes to you and says, I really think I should have gotten a better grade on this paper, or will you please let me return this in, or something, where you feel like the grade needs to be adjusted again, you can do that. But obviously, once the student sees it, they're going to see the grade readjustment, which you are saying, you're seeing how the students are seeing it. Because Canvas can't take back something they've already showed a student. They can hold something to themselves. Canvas can hold it private until you decide to release it. But once you release it, the student sees it on their iPhone instantaneously, And so if you decide to change it, they're going to see the change as well. They're not going to get 2 grades for one assignment. They're just going to see that something has changed.
right. But is there any way? I mean, let's suppose that we just forgot to click on mute assignment.
Mhm.
So I am in the middle of grading right now. So one student will,
You let one student go without hitting mute assignment,
um,
or 2 or 3 prior to hitting the button?
yeah, or maybe let's suppose that I'm in the middle of the grading right now.
Mhm.
Each one of the students will get their score as soon as I finish it. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
In case if I want to revisit the rubric and the results of my score,
Mhm.
my grading, but if I want to revisit this, what is that? The
The-
details of grading.
The rubric
but
itself?
without letting students know that I am looking at it again, how can we exit from this rubric?
If
Not
you just want to,
on save, can I just hit the cancel so that I can just come out of this rubric?
Yeah, you could just hit cancel. If you don't make any changes, the student isn't necessarily going to know that you were in there peeking around at the grade again. It's only if you change something.
Okay.
It's just, if you just hit cancel, then you're set, right? So if you wanted to come back in and relook at it, you could come into the Speedgrader and say view and say, what was that again? Oh yeah, okay, cancel. The student's not going to get a message about that. If you hit save again, I could imagine maybe the students would get a second notice even if you hadn't changed anything. I'm not exactly sure with that, but you can look at it and just hit cancel. You can also view it through the gradebook function if you wanted to do it that way. But so you click on a few things here with the rubric. You can alternatively add a comment if you want to. So if you don't mind typing, you want to add a little extra comment, you can. A personalized comment about that presentation. So notice I said to Gail, good job, Gail, nice eye contact, much improvement since last presentation. And I was able to type that while I was in the audience and she was speaking. But if you're not, you don't have to. The key here is that the students are getting really detailed feedback on a category by category section that you have created, so they're going to feel the response. You know, they're going to feel the personalized touch, maybe even if you don't add the personalized comment, although you can, right? So let's go back home, and I'll come in as a student and just sort of show you what this looks like for a student view when they come in to see the comments. So you'll notice when the student logs in, they've got a little grade with a blue item there because this assignment is unmuted, right? We've muted it and unmuted it like 5 times, but currently it's unmuted. So they see that there's a new grade for them to look at. They click on grades. They see introduction speech. Oh, so here actually I've left it muted, so this will be perfect for you to see. So they see that there's a grade, they see introduction speech, but they see that it's muted. The instructor is working on the grades. They do not see their grade. Gail did not get a 50. She doesn't have her score. So what I can do is I can close this for a second, come back to the Speedgrader. Oh, I don't want to be a test student. Leave student view, sorry. And unmute the assignment. Come back over to student view. Come into the grades, and now they're going to be able to see that they got a 45 out of a possible of 50. They see a little bubble that shows that I have left them a personalized comment if they want to look at it, but they can also see the rubric right there. It pops right up for them on their page so they can see what they got. And if they want to look at their comment, they can see the comments as well.
From here, how can they see the text? I mean, you know, actually
the paper?
Yeah,
This
the
didn't
paper.
have a paper associated with it. So remember there was no paper, so we can show you one with a paper. Let me leave student view. I believe I have some student papers in one of these test assignments down here. Yep, submission graded. So I'll show you just when you come in. This has been graded, but this is a student paper. Pops up automatically for me to use and comment on. There's a really simple and easy to use navigation bar up here where you can comment on the student paper, and you have a variety of options, very much like any kind of Word document commenting functionality. So you can click the comment button and then say you want a point comment right here. You get a little thing, you can say good job, or whatever it is that you would like to write there. You're done. If you ever want to delete any of the comments, you just hit delete, so that's gone. Actually, I made a mistake. I don't agree with that anymore. And as you can see here, this particular paper, I have written a lot of different types of comments. So you have all these options. You can highlight things, you can put a box around things, you can scribble all over them if you'd like to. Again, a rubric, a very simple rubric. You can see how simple it can be. You hit save, you can do also, you can have a text comment, etc. You submit your things, and now if we come back, I just have to remember this outline for persuasive speech 2. I think I only have one student in here, but the Speedgrader functionality, just in case you haven't used it, You can toggle through students here. You know, you can mute your assignment. You can go back to the course home. You see all sort of this information. If you wanted to download the paper, you could, but why would you want to download the paper, right? The days of downloading papers and saving them to your computer are archaic and extremely difficult. So we'll close this. Now if we come back in as a student, you'll see I have a new grade because I saved that again, right? I changed something, I added a comment, I saved it. It was outline for persuasive speech 2. So they can look at the rubric to see their rubric results, right? They can look at the comments to see the comments that I've given. If they click on the actual assignment, they're going to be able to look at the paper. They click right here. They get the option to look at the paper. They see all the comments that you made. They also, what's quite nice, is they can make comments back. So you can use this functionality to revise a paper as opposed to just grade a paper, right? So you can make comments back and forth or just have an online dialogue about something, right? And then they can comment back to you overall, right? They can give you, you said, great, let me know if you have any questions. They can type back in here, why did I get a 47? And then they can send that back to you. I allow them, in your settings of your assignment, you could allow or not allow them to resubmit things. This happens to be one that is allowed to be resubmitted. Again, they can see the rubric from here as well. So when students come in, depending on how they decide to view their grade, they can view it by looking under assignments and checking their grade, or they can do it by grades. You know, just like there's a number of ways for you to view assignments, there's a number of ways for students to view them. So they may come into it in different ways, but they have the availability to see that marked up paper and to comment back. They also have the ability to see all of your comments as you go through and to see the grade. So we've covered a little bit about papers and we can more, but I want to sort of check it and see where we're at in regards to you feeling comfortable about using the grade book inside of Canvas, right? You want to use the grade book. No, but you would like to use it. I mean, there's a whole, I'm sure that Gail offers a whole class on using the grade book inside of Canvas. What I can really tell you from a faculty's point of view is it's so useful, right? It's very, very helpful. It doesn't require you to type a lot or leave a lot of comments. Like I type very quickly. I handwrite very badly. One of the reasons why I actually moved forward to trying to use rubrics online inside of Canvas is because I had a paper-based rubric in which I checked things off, and then I was mostly watching presentations, so I was scribbling down information, which was chicken scratch and kind of hard to read. And then I'd go home later that evening or possibly that weekend, and I'd look at these chicken scratched comments, and I'd think, wow, how am I going to figure out what to say? I felt like I had to rewrite all the comments because you couldn't really see them that well. I wasn't sure I remembered the presentation as well as I would have during the actual class time. So I feel like by doing this asynchronous grading, by using rubrics and being able to just click and have that already set up for them, I'm able to give more timely feedback, more specific feedback, and just better feedback because I'm right in that moment as opposed to trying to process what I've written prior. And I also saw students a number of times, I'd then hand back, whether it be their outlines that I chicken scratched all over in red with a rubric on top of it that I stapled to it and gave back to them because I'm very industrious. I'd see them barely look at it and shove it in their bag, or, as I'm sure you guys have seen too, literally recycle it on the way out the door, and you know that they have never even seen it, right? And you think, I spent all weekend doing this, and the continuum of them actually learning from the grade isn't happening, and so I feel like because students are so electronic, they have all of their different devices, they check things instantaneously, they get the feedback that you provide electronically. They read it because it's right there where they read everything. Tweet, text, Facebook, oh, this, right? And I have often found as soon as I publish I unmute an assignment, I will, because I leave personal comments, you don't have to, but I do tend to, I will get a comment back from students within moments. Oh, thank you so much. I feel like I'm getting better too. Wow, I usually don't talk, the students don't talk to me. It's hard to get that kind of conversation going. So I think overall it makes your life easier and it makes the communication better. and it helps the students actually learn in a quicker and better way, right? At least I feel it that way. So let's leave student view again.
You said, I got my training, my undergraduate degree in English language and literature, and I write
really
and I cursive
really well.
And I like writing, so and it's much faster for sure than keyboarding.
Yeah.
So, and I have, besides that, put that aside, my other issue is trust. Although I use computers all the time in my, we are dominated by computers, but I still have this fear of losing my material,
That you've,
Even if I switch to grading by Canvas, I'm going to still keep, at least for the semester or two, I will keep a backup hard copy of it. It disappears.
Yeah, it's good to work with the technology on the level that you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
For example, you'll see this rubric here because I print these rubrics. I print a few of these rubrics. I've been doing this for about 2 years now electronically, but I still print a few of these and I have them next to my iPad while I'm grading students, because if something happens, the internet connection doesn't go well or something's wrong, it's right there, and it's right there for me. And so you want to be smart about what you're doing and get to a point where you're comfortable. I haven't honestly had to use these very often lately, but it's there, and it makes me have that confidence when I'm using the iPad to quickly grade the presentations that I know if anything out of my control happens, I will still have a backup record of what's going on. I don't write it for each and every student, but if I see that there's a problem, I jot it down. The other thing that you'll notice here, if I come out of student view and show you, am I still in student? No, I can't still be in student view because they wouldn't be looking at this, I don't think. Once you set up your gradebook, and this, because I only have one student, it's really kind of hard to imagine what it would really look like with rows and rows and rows and lots of grades listed in here. But you can export your whole entire gradebook as an Excel spreadsheet really easily, right? And so if you feel uncomfortable, one, you can keep it separately, but the other thing you do is you could set it all up in Canvas prior to the semester starting, obviously, ideally, right? All of your assignments are listed, so you've got something that looks like this. You export it as an Excel spreadsheet with no data, right? And you have it there. Maybe you use that to keep your data just because you want to literally manually write it into the Excel spreadsheet. But say 2 weeks into the semester, export it again. Another 2 weeks, export it again. Just keep these files on your computer so that you feel like, okay, even if something happens to Canvas, which is a web-hosted environment, which I feel is very protected, right? Your access to Canvas may be limited at a moment in time because of something happening with the internet where you are or something like that. But the actual Canvas environment, I highly doubt will be compromised, in that once you again have access to the environment, it will all still be there for you. But if you're not comfortable, you export it as many times as you want every Friday, right? And so if something does happen, you can always loop back to that last time that you graded, and the only thing you would have to input in again would be since the last time you exported it. But what we're lucky here is that the company that supports Canvas, Instructure, is it's a great LMS company. It's cloud hosted and cloud service. So their job for universities all across the United States is to make sure that this data doesn't disappear. And I think they do a pretty good job of that. But there's no reason why you shouldn't do what's comfortable for you as well. And they give you those options, right? So if you download it as a CSV, you can then just bring that in as an Excel spreadsheet. And basically, do you currently keep a fully paper-based gradebook, or do you keep an Excel spreadsheet?
All paper.
Fully paper-based, okay.
I'm using
Excel.
I can show you.
So you're collecting grades online for papers, but you're not using the Canvas gradebook?
Yeah, because my grading items are more complicated, and I try to use this grading book, but it's how can I explain this? This is a lot easier for me because it shows all details. I can even mark whether they arrive on time, they late, they missed the class, whatever. It has all this function in my Excel spreadsheet. And another one is where is Is it automatically closed? Okay, here another one, participation score. You know, I can show all this, you know, how much person. So I have several criteria that I am using for the grading. So in Excel spreadsheet, I have 6 or several, you know, categories. Every single items will be recorded like this. And in the end, if I want to take only 10% out of all these points, you know, I can use the calculator, and then it will be automatically calculated over here. And at the end, I have all the final spreadsheet that is collecting all, you know, the final percentage, and it's going to be all sum up. So
this, you're going to take 10%
out of all these.
This is 10% of their final grade.
Exactly.
And then you also may average this inside of here for a certain percentage of these grades here, right?
Well, basically, based upon the, you know, the total points can be transformed into percentage. By using
Percentage of
Excel.
total grade, right?
Exactly.
That's 10% of their total grade. Well, let me just show you.
Do you use this in class or you do it afterwards? Do you use it in class? Well, yeah, when it happens, do you do it live? When the students are participating, you have this on your screen and then you.
No, I usually remember.
Yeah, so you go home, you go to your office or go home and then do it.
So, my question for you is, when do you share this information with the students?
I regularly upload this, you know, updated grading details.
Is it their student ID numbers?
No,
okay,
yeah,
so
yes,
that they can't
yeah.
see each other's.
But yeah, there's no name at all, so they can only see their own record. Probably 3 or 4 times throughout the semester, I'm uploading this.
The ID numbers are on alphabetical basis, based on the names, last name. Are the ID numbers that appear here based on the last name alphabetical
Yeah, but
order?
students would not know.
Well, if you do them all together, they can figure it out.
Let me show you just a couple of things of how my gradebook is set up, because I also do categories. And I have those categories being a percentage of the final grade. So the structure of my class is somewhat similar to yours. The category titles are going to be different, and how you put in the assignments will be different. But if you look here under assignments, you'll see that I have these categories listed. So their introduction speech, there's actually 5 assignments that are associated with the introduction speech grade, and that speech grade will be 20% of their final grade, right? And they have Friday forms, which are all presentations that they happen on Fridays. Total percentage, 30% of the grade, but they have these different assignments. And similarly, they have their persuasive project.
How about attendance?
I also use the attendance feature inside of Canvas. So I find it just popped up this year as an option, and I said I'm going to take advantage of that, right? And so if you look, I'll show you the roll call attendance here. Actually, I have to go into.
And that feeds into the grade.
Yes, it feeds right into the gradebook. So how you get to attendance is you go to this link right here. Let's see if it pops up.
If I can use this grade function on Canvas, that will be really wonderful.
Yes.
In the beginning, there was no way for me to utilize all these functions, and it was too much.
Yeah, well, you have to take it in stages, yes. I mean, just for one semester, just uploading your assignments is enough work to, you know, murder you, right? I mean, it takes quite a bit of work. And then slowly you can grow forward. But I think where you are right now, I think this wouldn't be too difficult of a transition. What I wanted to show you is how you can set, what I think you'll really be able to use is how you can set your own criteria, right? So you could use this not only for being present, but for how much they participate, right? So you can decide how you want to use that. But here you can say mark all present, unmark all. You just click, when you click through, it will change its color. You can add these things right here called badges, right? So you can add a badge. And badges can be whatever you want to call them, right? And so if you wanted to do participation, if you wanted to do turned in homework, if you wanted to do any of those sorts of things, you could identify that the student had done that on a particular day. And you can give it a color, etc. I hesitate to actually do that in any of my classes because I don't want anything crazy to happen. But you can also, it comes default as the check is present, not present, late, you just didn't check it at all, right? But you can change these as well.
Yeah, but going back to the badges,
Mm-hmm.
This says plus, question mark, etc. What if I want to say, like, you know, it's participating, is active in class? Then I just say approve? Then, you know what I'm saying? Can you customize your badges?
Yes, absolutely. I did it. I can't noodle in a class that's live, you know, because I don't want students all of a sudden to be thinking that the strange things are happening. Is this a live class though?
Yes, it is.
Well, I don't want you to do that either. I don't know. Gail, do you have a class that if you logged in that you would be able to noodle with students or not? I'm not sure. Because I did actually for one semester have badges added in and click through them. You can change.
Go to one class.
Class.
Go to it.
Okay.
You have to have a name of a student, something there.
Oh, interesting. I don't have any.
Do you have no students in that class?
You had your class before.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Okay, now I
Okay,
need
yeah.
and
Now
then
go
go
click
class.
on.
This is like a
Click on
seating
more.
chart.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could do that if you wanted to, but I don't ever go there, right?
So
If you
what
just
do
go
I
to
get?
list,
Go click to
just
more.
go to list, and then say,
More, I think it was more.
And you click on more, and you can noodle away with it.
she's not seeing more, she
That's
said.
okay.
Oh.
Noodle with
Click on that. So, you know,
Oh. Okay.
Christine Andrews' great sense of humor.
now the badges are here.
So,
So I can add.
You could choose an icon, and an icon would mean a certain something.
so what are one of the things that you grade your students for daily participation? Is it participation?
Yeah.
And you can decide you want to
Well,
give it
that
an
sign- that
icon,
sign,
and you're going to give it
Purple thumbs up.
purple thumbs up, right? You save the badge.
How do you convert the purple thumbs up into the point? Because I'd like to give them a
Oh,
point
that's a good
every
point.
single day. That's what I am doing in my, Excel spreadsheet.
Uh-huh,
Excel spreadsheet
uh-huh,
can
uh-huh.
use that function very easily because I can, give them the points. But if we see only thumbs up, how do we interpret it later?
Go to the next one, managing.
Yeah, I was on, who was it?
Christine Andrews.
It shouldn't matter because they all go together. But if you click manage, I don't think you have an option of here giving it a percentage. You could choose to change the percentage. If you wanted to use this for whether or not they're there and for them to see how you felt with their participation so that they would see these sorts of badges, right? You could use it. If you're looking to give them a participation grade in every class with a point system of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., I think I would recommend doing it through assignments and having participation as a category inside of an assignment and then have the assignments listed there. The same way that you do it in the Excel spreadsheet, it would come up. You could use this for the fact that they're there. Do you take attendance, or is it only participation that matters? Attendance and participation, right? So use the roll call setting for attendance. So they're going to get the grade that they're there. You decide how much that attendance category is worth for them at the end of the semester by going into,
Before you get out of
oh, sorry.
when
yes.
you do badges, which I did, and then it opens up this window, the page at HTTP and blah, blah, website address. Please fill out all the fields and try again. Okay.
Right, so you need a category, and then you have to just choose this, and then you have to
That's
save
what
the
I
badge.
did. I clicked that and then it opened up this.
Choose color.
You have to choose color. What if I don't want colors?
Well,
Yeah.
go back then, and then you
Yeah.
save the badge. You just have to choose a color.
You have to choose a color. Okay. Thank
They're
you.
picky.
No, that's okay, it becomes colorful, I'm boring, so.
Well, it's black now, so it won't be very exciting. So you may not want to put anything in the back of your classroom.
But
I was just gonna-
like this.
You need a place that has grades.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the other one.
Okay.
What you are doing, you are doing
You
this.
can't manipulate
What?
them.
You're doing this stuff twice. I want to do it when I'm in class, I just go to Canvas and do it right there. You're doing your own
The roll
worksheet.
call will take it so she doesn't have to do all of the work.
Yeah, so I take the attendance right at the beginning of class. I have my iPad, or if you have a workstation inside of your classroom, or you could probably even do it on your phone or something like that, right?
Because later students can come up to me and, you know, I attended such and such day, which I don't have any proof on it. You
Mhm.
know, I have to, you know, accept their claim, but usually I keep all these sign up sheet. which is
You
the
pass the
evidence.
sign-up sheet
Yeah,
around the class?
yeah. So based upon that, I can check the.
Are you not concerned about students signing up for other students being there?
They don't usually.
Okay.
Usually, my class is, you know, very small size, and
mhm.
I usually remember who attended and who didn't.
Mhm.
But the reason why I'm, you know, routing all these papers because I want to keep it as an evidence. That's it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you're in a
But,
position of authority. You're not like, the way I see it is if they come in late, it's their responsibility to tell them. If they don't, that's too bad. It's as simple as that.
So if you look at this, the categories here inside of my assignments, you can change how much the overall roll call attendance will be for your students. So if you decide that you want it to be, you know, you don't want cancel, I want to edit and change the percentage. So say you want it to be 10% of their overall grade, right? Or 5%, you know how. Basically you can do it however you want. And then you notice now all of a sudden I have 110% up here because I've added an extra 10% to my grading criteria here. But if you were to have a new category inside of your grade book and call it participation, and you want it to be 10% of the total grade, right, say, and then you want to add an assignment to participation, add an assignment, it's going to be called January 1st, right?
So then you have to create these assignments for every single.
In
class day.
the same way that you would in your Excel spreadsheet, right? I mean, that's how.
That creates more work for me rather than using Excel.
No, you're only going to do it once because then the next year it'll move. And then when she goes to the grade book, you can default that everybody gets a 1 and take out the people who don't.
Yeah.
So you can
So-
fill in like this.
So say you give.
But you have to change the dates, don't you?
You will have a date for each meeting.
One time you have to set up. In the same way that one time in your Excel spreadsheet, you had to go across the top and write 10-2, 10-4, 10-8. You know, at some point you have to do that. But say you give students a participation point of 1, 2, or 3. You can choose how you do that, or you give them out of 100%, right? So it doesn't matter how you want to grade them each day. Do you normally give them a 10 or 12, or I thought I saw 10 on your sheet, is that right? So the total points possible is 10, and you say update. So there you've got that there. I'm just going to add one more so you can see January 3rd, 10 points possible, right? So say at the end of the semester, you want to give people a bit of a break. This is what I like about categories is generally they participated fairly well, but I don't necessarily want every single day of participation to count. I want to have a little wiggle room there, if you want to, right? So if you go into the category options and you edit the category, I did it again. Oh, cancel. And you edit. You can add a grading rule. And they come up there, the ones that are most obvious, right? Drop the lowest, drop the highest, never drop. So you could say there's 32 meetings for the semester. I want to go ahead and drop the lowest 3 grades for all the students, right? Or you could pick particular students, right? But you add the grading rule, and then you say update, Now you'll see you have more information here. When you click on it, it says, 0% of total grade. Drop the lowest 3 grades, right? So you can choose if you want to kind of mess with that a little bit, right? With things like attendance and participation, things that students get graded every single time they come to class, sometimes that's a nice option just because some students don't come every day, right? So if you don't come, you're going to get a 0 for attendance. You're also going to get a 0 for participation that day. And that can affect your overall grade in the end quite a bit. Maybe you're okay with that. But if in the end you think, I'd like to give them a little bit of wiggle room, or if in your syllabus you say that you can miss 3 classes without being penalized, well then you want to have this grading rule up there because they're going to be penalized if they get a 0 and they're actually allowed to miss 3 classes, right? So if you have dropped the lowest 3 grades, then they can have 3 zeros and no problem. Or they could come every day and have 3 80s that get disappeared, or 3 8s or something along those lines. So we have covered a whole lot, but not enough, as always, right? You know, we could probably sit individually and talk with each of you for a number of hours.
I have a question before.
Yeah, definitely.
I start my students, depending on the course, let's say 10 points for participation and attendance. I start everybody with 7 points out of 10
Okay.
in the beginning. Then for each participation, they get half a point per class. For each absence, they lose half a point.
Okay.
Okay? The maximum is 10 points. First of all, can we set it up like that? That the absence translates to minus half a point, participation translates to plus half a point, and you start at 7 and not 0?
Are you talking about just because I sort of spaced out, you're talking about the attendance or the participation grade? Just attendance, you're combining the two. Okay.
And then, in addition, to make it more complicated, is that if you reach your 10 points, I still encourage them to participate, but they can't get more than 10 points. But I tell them that at the end of the semester, I look, if you are borderline and you need a gentle push to get a higher grade, if you participated actively, then you get it. Then I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
So are there any type of those functions available on this?
I feel like if I had more time to think about it, I might be able to find a workaround for you, right? As it starts out here in the basics of this gradebook is that students earn points as they come in. You don't necessarily get points before you ever start. So the question is, how would the negative points work, etc.? I'm not exactly sure at this moment. I don't use it in that way, and I'm not sure if there's a negative grade functionality inside of Canvas. I think you'd probably have to set it up I'm thinking inside of one of these categories the way I use categories, and then have the different entries. And maybe, I'm not sure, I'm really trying to just think on the fly here, maybe set up and go ahead and grade everyone for one assignment all the way through at the beginning. Go ahead and give everybody the points for one assignment the way you normally do, because you are basically giving them the points. And then have the category and the percentages and the drop the lowest all work out in a way that, or drop the high in a way that it ends up kind of doing what you want it to do. I would have to noodle with it a little bit more to be able to answer you concretely though.
Just to build up what she's saying is,
yeah.
if you move yourself over the 10 points, then you're within the grade book. When Minnie doesn't show up for class or Derek doesn't show up for class, you're going to end up taking away that point and replacing it with the 0.5 or the point, the less points, the reduced point structure, so that you'd be working out of the grade book and not out of the assignment area.
And here's just to step back just for a minute, because you're thinking of, and we talked about this before, first you're setting up your assignments, you haven't done gradebook yet. You're starting to use you might start to use gradebook, right? You don't really like typing, but you came here saying, I would really like to use the gradebook, right? You can use the gradebook kind of and kind of not in this way. You could set up an assignment that is participation and attendance. And that portion you could keep offline until the end of the semester. And at the end of the semester, you could just put a number grade inside of the gradebook for them. If that's what you really like the way you do that one thing.
I have to do a manual work, then put it in.
But
if you just wanted to do it for that one thing, you could use the gradebook for all of your other stuff, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's ideal, but I'm saying if you're looking to take baby steps of feeling comfortable and say, okay, well, how could I start so that the papers I collect are online, that my test scores are online, that the one group presentation I do, I give them a grade for, etc., right? But with the attendance, I don't need to keep that rolling throughout the semester inside of Canvas because right now, I'm not sure if it can work the way I want it to. But you can still set up an assignment shell. It's there. At the end of the semester, you give the student the grade that you want to give them, right? And that's fine. You know, you can do some where you're manually. Similarly, imagine you give a midterm test and you give a paper-based test. You just don't give an electronic test yet, but you collect papers online, etc. You could give that paper-based test and you could, as easy as 1, 2, 3, come into your option here. You say, I'm going to add, imagine we do it actually. I know we need to go, but if we say we want to add an assignment inside of here and we're going to say midterm, and you say it's going to be worth 100 points, and you're going to update it. But this is actually a test that I give in the class in a paper-based form. Well, when I come into my grade book, and I grade it with a pen and a pencil, because that's the way it works, right? Or maybe Scantron, I don't know, right? I don't give tests.
I do combination.
But yeah, but so then you come in, you see your midterm, you can come in and you just give the student, there's an alphabetical list, you've got your student's test right there, you say, oh, that person got an 89. Just leave it at that, or you can add a quick comment. 89. You don't have to add a comment, right? Because you give them 89, you're going to pass back the test anyway. But this, just like your Excel spreadsheet, it can work just the exact same way as your Excel spreadsheet, except it's virtual and the students can see it. You can export it, save it as an Excel spreadsheet, however many times you want to. So you could start your baby steps with basically just transforming your Excel spreadsheet into this without interactive grading functionality, and then you can add in the interactive grading functionality as you feel more comfortable. You add a rubric to one assignment. You then use that online. You add this, you know, so you can do it in steps. It doesn't have to be one big bang.
And attendance and participation is the hardest thing to move over. It's the most complicated for everybody. And I think that you're right to start with something else.
So basically, whatever we create, the categories in our assignment section is going to be reflected onto gradebook.
It all goes automatically to the gradebook. Yep.
I'll try to.
So that's the same, like Blackboard was like this too, if you remember. Blackboard was, I remember.
But I love WebCity a lot better than this one. I mean,
Understandable.
There's a learning curve with everything, right? There's a learning curve when you're really comfortable with something, then you have to learn to something else. Yes.
Well,
I
the
think
company wanted you to change.
Yes.
There's some more money in the company. It's
Yeah.
not about, you know, we just want to change.
And one of the things that we didn't talk about, but Gail kind of put up there, and I know we need to run, but just building upon that, from the student feedback perspective, Canvas has a very good sort of virtual connection to people, comment availability, audio comment availability, app for their cell phone, app for their iPad, app for this, app for that. So their ability to interact with it is really quite high, and it's really very intuitive for them. And so your ability to provide them feedback, I think, is on a higher level with Canvas than I saw with Blackboard or WebCT, and I've also used Moodle and Angel, a whole bunch of other programs as well. I think this does have that overall communication function when or if you decide to use it, that can be very beneficial to the students. But thank you guys for coming. Sorry we went over by a few minutes. Thank you, Gail.